Hello my friends and welcome back. Thank you very much for being with me again today. In a video I posted, I think not long ago, maybe 2 days ago, I was talking about the liberation of the territories that don't want to be liberated. And I was talking about, okay, let's say the Ukrainians are liberating whatever was taken over by the Russians and the people who don't want to be liberated by Ukraine. Then what happens in those territories? And I pointed out some examples in history, and one of those examples was when the Soviet army pushed back in Ukraine. If you remember, the German army, the Wehrmacht, when they invaded with the Operation Barbarossa, they went over Ukraine, and a lot of people were waiting for the Nazi German army with flowers, and they loved them because they deoccupied them, freed them from the Soviet terror. Now the problem was when the Soviets were coming back, they did mass killings and they looked for these collaborators with the German army, even though they saw the German army as the liberators. There were many, and there are pictures and videos regarding this, so it's not something that is hidden somewhere. Now, what do you think will happen with the population in the liberated territories when the Ukrainians, if the Ukrainians come back there? You think they will just embrace them and love them and forgive them? Well, I can already tell you, because an article came out and from the New Voice of Ukraine, September 10th. Russian teachers detained in liberated Kupiansk. So the Ukrainians did not even set foot in the territories that nobody wants to get freed by the Ukrainians, and they already start arresting people. Now, Ukrainian law enforcement is detaining Russian teachers in recently liberated Kupiansk, Kharkiv Oblast, who were tasked with indoctrinating Ukrainian students, extolling imperial virtues of Pax Russika. Ukrainian MP Oleksiy Honcharenko said in a Telegram post on September 10, the current academic year could last up to 15 years for this is a quote, with these bastards. The MP wrote, additionally, 2 Kupiansk locals were charged in absentia for voluntarily collaborating with Russian occupation authorities in the town. Office of the Prosecutor General of Ukraine said in a Telegram post. Now, when it was in Stalin's time, yeah, I'm gonna go there. Then he started taking care of his own population, not his own population, because he was Gruzin, Georgian, and he took care of a Russian population. So it's like you have here Zelensky being a Jew with Zhivmihal, and Reznikov taking care of Russian residents, or how do you want to call them, in the eastern territories, or the Ukrainians. When Stalin started his purge and whatever else he started, he killed under his orders. He didn't kill his orders. They were the people on the territory who some of them settled scores, and they were bringing the lists, and Stalin was signing them without knowing who's on the list, obviously. Well, the same thing could possibly happen in other locations and other times. After all, we are all human, so we have the same traits. In different proportions, that's the thing. The situation is that sometimes in circumstances we sometimes act as humans and we act the same. We don't like to think that way, But it is, when you have a full belly, you think that, I can give that food to someone who needs. But when you have an empty stomach and you don't see any prospect of food in the future, you would not give that to your mother or to your child. Unfortunately, but that's the way we are. This as a conservation instinct kicks in. What I would say the human instinct kicks in when you have too much power, unchecked power, and you see enemies everywhere who want to dethrone you. So I'm very concerned with what's going to happen if the Ukrainians are taking over those territories, because they already did it in Ukraine already with collaborators. They stamped Ukrainians as collaborators. Now, it was not necessarily Zelensky. There were people who Zelensky might not even know that were arrested in his name, like in Stalin's time, for instance. So if you think that people in eastern part of Ukraine will not be called collaborators, then I think that's a big mistake. Now we can say, well, they were collaborators. Okay, so then what were they supposed to do? And we stay here in a beautiful environment and we philosophize and say they should have just maybe refused to cooperate, or maybe they should have just left the town. Yeah, it's nice you're here, they're there. And if you were over there, probably you would have done the same thing. I'm not saying you would, but I said probably, that's the key word, or we, or I. And this brings me to the idea of Germans. When you said, well, why did Germany, or most Germans, or some Germans, however you want to look at it, supported Hitler, Adolf Hitler, and Nazism? Some people just went along. Why didn't they just, try to overthrow him, and some tried to assassinate him and so on? But why did they go along with that? Well, sometimes you're afraid. Sometimes you get along because you think it's a good thing. You have one life. What are you going to do? The circumstances dictate sometimes what we do. Actually, they always dictate, but we can, follow the orders, or we can refuse to follow them. So I'm concerned. I'm not concerned because I think I know what's going to happen over there, and probably you know deep down what's going to happen in the liberated territories. And some people say, yeah, that's the Russian teachers. I don't think that they brought Russian teachers from Russia in Ukraine to teach those. It's not impossible, but how many? And then remember, when you get over a territory, you're going to impose your curriculum. What is the teacher gonna do? You're gonna say, no, I'm not gonna do that. You're gonna end up like the other side. You're gonna be taken to a little side out of the town, and nobody will hear from you. How do you think that things are ran? I'm talking about Russians. Why? Because they're human beings. And you say, I mean, that's not right. Okay. When it's war, did you hear that MP? He called the teachers bastards, and he's far away. He's not there. He's not vested like being in the war or being around, shot at. Well, this is the examples are numerous when they go over there and just in retaliatory mode. They just mop the whole town, and they take the collaborators and they just shot them on the spot. And then what are you going to hear about it? They will not allow the media to be over there. Will just be by themselves for about 5 days and take care of stuff, and they say they will arrest 2 or 3, and then I don't know, you're not going to hear from about 1,000. And these things will be reported in about 10 years. Not now. Now we all have to love this, the liberations. I'm saying this is something that happens in this kind of circumstances, and history is witness that this happening, and will happen. Any human being would be inclined That's the word. To act like that after being shot at, and hatred builds when you're involved in these kind of circumstances. And not only, but it's not great love between the Russians and the Ukrainian nowadays, as you can, and it's not going only one direction now. It's going both directions. So I'm waiting for the report, if we're gonna meet in 10 years, about the crimes committed not only by the Russians but by the other ones as well. And if, as I said, Ukrainians will liberate those territories, they will do what they did in the Second World War. They will come with a front. When the Soviets were coming west, population was moving with the German army towards Germany. And then eventually they oozed and they went into the American side where they were safe. I have relatives who did that, and I read some books as well. Books and these kind of things from the shelf for a young population who knows only books. Oh well, so I know how that happens. So when this front goes the other way, a lot of people would migrate to Russia, being afraid. Why? Because of Ukrainian army, because they know and you feel that Ukrainian army is not going to come to talk to you because they don't want to be liberated. That's the whole point. Are there people who might want to be liberated? Yeah, you can have unanimity, but majority of people don't want to be liberated. That's why they fought from 2014 to 2022 against the Kiev regime. Thank you very much for being with me again today. Stay strong, stay smart, look for the truth, and be just.